Hola, hola mis amores, and welcome back to your favorite channel for learning Spanish, Everyday Español. Conmigo, Madison. What the heck was I doing there at the beginning? Well, I think we all know, I think the whole world knows that it is almost Olympic Games season. So I figured, why not learn how to talk about the Olympic Games, pero en español. Something that I love about learning sports in Spanish is that they sound very similar or almost identical to that in English. So they're pretty easy to learn. Now, the spelling of them can be a little bit funky, but realistically, they're pretty similar to that in English. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through all of the Olympic sports in Spanish because, quite frankly, that would be a 10. But let's go through some of the most popular ones that you will see on the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. All right, the first sport that you're most likely going to see this year at the Olympic Games is el atletismo. Atletismo. Track. Another really popular sport that we're going to see at the Olympics that we don't typically see on TV is badminton. And in Spanish, it's badminton. Another really good one and big one is baloncesto. Or in some countries, they call this el basquetbol. You're also going to see el boxeo. So many different types of ciclismo BMX, ciclismo normal, bunch of different types of cycling or biking of the sorts. Another huge sport that we'll see this year at the Olympics, and quite frankly, it's one of the biggest sports in the entire world, is el fútbol. El fútbol. With our feet, my friends, my American friends, we are not talking about American football. We are talking about football, as in soccer. Let's do a couple more here. This one is, quite frankly, one of my favorites to watch on TV. La gimnasia. La gimnasia. Gymnastics. Fun fact about me is I was a gymnast for about 10 years of my life, so I love to dive into all things gymnastics, especially when it comes to the Olympics. So mobiles, everything. Another really popular sport we'll see is el voleibol. El voleibol. There are two types. There's indoor volleyball that you'll see, or voleibol a la playa that you play at the beach. Voleibol, playa, beach volleyball, or voleibol, normal volleyball. Another pretty big sport is la natación artística. La natación artística, synchronized swimming or artistic swimming. Obviously, these are not all of the Olympic sports, but these are a few big ones that we're going to see on TV at the Paris Olympic Games. So now that we've done that, again, let me cue you back into your tip when you're learning a second language. All those sports we just learned, really easy and pretty great because they sound very similar to that in English. But also, to help our brain remember and continue that vocab, you need to put it with a picture. So hopefully, as we were going through, we're putting pictures with these sports words in Spanish so that it takes away an element of, okay, translate to your first language. If you want to ask what somebody's favorite sport is in Spanish, you would say, ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito? ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito? All right, you're looking at me and you're like, all right, easy enough, profe. How do I respond to that? So I really like because the way that the sentence is formatted, again, very similar to that in English. So it's going to help us out here. So to say my favorite sport is, you would say, mi deporte favorito es, fill in the blank. All right, guys, help me complete my Unacademy lesson today. And quite frankly, my streak is actually having me complete a lesson about sports that goes perfectly with today's lesson. So bear with me, help me maintain that streak, but also let's put some of our words that we learned into practice. All right, so the lesson is about talking about sports. Let's see.
Now let us learn to talk about our favorite sports. Deporte. Deporte is Spanish for sport. ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito? El deporte. El deporte. Note: it is difficult to identify the gender of Spanish nouns ending in a simply by looking at them. For example, gente, leche, and calle are all feminine nouns, whereas deporte, coche, and cine are masculine nouns. Fútbol. Fútbol is Spanish for soccer. Deporte. Mi deporte favorito es el fútbol. Sports names in Spanish are masculine and they usually go with an article. When talking about a particular sport in a sentence, the article el goes before the sport. Mi deporte favorito es el tenis. Mi deporte favorito es el tenis. Mi deporte favorito es el tenis. Did you notice? The Spanish word tennis is a cognate of its English counterpart, tennis. Ver. Partido. Mi hijo quiere ver un partido de tenis. Did you notice? Tennis match in Spanish is partido de tenis. Here, they connects the words partido and tenis, showing that the match is of tennis. Película. Partido. D. ¿Quieres ver una película? No, quiero ver un partido de fútbol. Did you know the popular sport American football in Spanish is el fútbol americano? Fútbol. Deporte. El fútbol americano es un deporte muy divertido. El tenis es un deporte. El tenis es un deporte interesante.
All right, I got my streak for the day, and quite frankly, it went along with today's lesson. So thank you so much for helping me out with that streak. All right, so we figured out how to ask what's your favorite sport and how to respond to that. But let's make it a little bit more specific to the Olympics and talking about what kind of sports you like to watch versus play. Because just because you like to watch something doesn't mean you can play it or like to play it. And just because you like to play something doesn't necessarily mean you like to watch it in the Olympics. So it's pretty simple. We're using the question format that we did at the beginning, but we're just adding one slight word at the end to make it to watch or to play. So to ask, what's your favorite sport to watch? You would say, ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito para mirar? Para mirar. What's your favorite sport to watch? As you're watching this, you're probably seeing me do a bunch of different motions so that you guys are tying a gesture, an image to that phrase or that question instead of, again, the translation. Because you know me, I love putting words to images or to motions so that it sticks in your brain a little bit better. So how do you think you respond to that question? Again, it's very similar to how we learned earlier. We're just adding a slight little word to make it more specific, to say that we're talking about what we like to watch. All right, you guessed it. You say, mi deporte favorito para mirar es, fill in the blank. Easy peasy, okay? You guys are doing great so far. Let's move on to talking about what your favorite sports to play. All right, guys, if you're hopping on the trend and you're seeing, okay, there's a pattern. You're doing great. Because now we're just going to switch out mirar for jugar, to play. So to ask, what's your favorite sport to play? In Spanish, you say, ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito para jugar? Para jugar. What is your favorite sport to play? All right, so now I'm asking you guys, ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito para mirar en los Juegos Olímpicos? En los Olímpicos, ¿cuál es tu deporte favorito para mirar? Using that sentence structure, let me know in the comments because there are so many unique sports that we get to see during the Paris Olympics this year. If somebody asked me this question, I would probably say, mi deporte favorito para mirar es gimnasia. Es gimnasia. Gymnastics. All right, now I'm going to ask you a second question. ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito para jugar? Para jugar. To play. This one's a little bit different. We're still following that same structure. Mi deporte favorito para jugar es blank. Let me know in the comments. ¿Cuál es tu deporte favorito para jugar? If somebody asked me that question, I would probably say, mi deporte favorito para jugar es el voleibol. Es el voleibol. All right, we're just about done with today's session. Let's end the lesson today with a little game. Okay, so what's the game? So I'm going to either put a sport on the screen or I'm going to put a famous athlete from a certain sport. And you guys are going to tell me what sport this person participates in, plays, etc. All I need is the word written in Spanish for the sport. You think you can handle it? I know you can. Here we have the famous Simone Biles. Simone Biles. What sport does she play or participate in? All right, lock in your answer. She plays or participates in la gimnasia. La gimnasia. All right, this next athlete, Shohei Ohtani. What sport does he play? If you're like, I don't know who these people are, that's okay. Look at the context clues of the image. He plays el béisbol. El béisbol. All right, our next person, we have the famous Messi. What sport does he play? All right, you got that right. He plays el fútbol. El fútbol, with our feet. All right, this next sport. Somebody looks like they're holding a golf club, a tiny little white ball. What sport is this in Spanish? El golf. El golf. All right, let's end on a high note, okay? So our last one, we see Michael Jordan, LeBron James. How do we say that in Spanish? Hint, I said there's 2 ways to say it. Just pick one of the ways. Nudge, nudge. One kind of sounds a little bit more like English than the other. Okay, and the answer is el basquetbol or el baloncesto. All right, I think that wraps up today's session. I hope you guys are so excited for the Olympics because I know I am. I will be watching it glued to the TV. Let me know in the comments, ¿cuál es tu deporte favorito para mirar en los Olímpicos? And we'll have a discussion about it. Let's follow up. Good luck to your countries and hopefully you bring home the gold. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, share it with people that are also learning Spanish so you guys can talk about the Olympics together. And join me next time on Everyday Español for more Spanish just like this. Hasta luego.